Okay, so since tapos na natin last meeting, ay last time, yung gross income, so let's proceed sa allowable deduction. So medyo mahaba-haba itong allowable deduction. So let's see kung hanggang saan yung matapos natin for this explainer video. As so as much as possible, dapat nasa 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes lang ang explainer video. So, let's see kung ano ang matakal natin. No? And then, gawa na lang ng susunod na explainer video para sa mga susunod na parts. And of course, so ito yung mga remaining topics pa natin sa estate tax. Yung last topic na natin sa subject. Of course, kapag na-discuss na natin yung allowable deduction, i-deduct yan sa gross income. So, mag-compute tayo ng taxable net estates in the future. And meron din tayong, of course, para pag mag-compute ng estate tax, syempre meron tayong estate tax rate to determine yung estate tax. And then, yung estate tax payment. So, let's proceed. So, let's start sa deduction. Ang first is claims against the estate. A person at some time during his lifetime may have contracted obligation. If it is enforceable against him when the person is alive, the obligation will be claims against the estate when he is dead. So kung may utang daw si decedent nung buhay pa siya and valid at enforceable para sa kanya during his lifetime, of course, magiging valid obligation ito para sa kanyang estate din. So, 'di ba? Nung define natin ang estate, these are yung properties, rights, and obligation ng decedent na hindi na-extinguished dahil sa kanyang pagkamatay, hindi nawala. So, ando doon pa rin yung property, rights, and obligation niya. So, it's still valid. If it is valid, sabi dito, if it is valid during his lifetime, then valid din yan sa kanyang estate. Thus, an obligation that has prescribed already during lifetime of the decedent or was unenforceable against him when he is alive will not be a claim against his estate when he is dead. So, in the same manner na kung valid yung obligation during his lifetime niya, valid din sa kanyang estate, of course, ganito din yung obligation na nag-prescribe na. Ibig sabihin yung nawalan lang ng visa o hindi nag-prescribe, ibig sabihin nawalan na ng visa or unenforceable na hindi na valid during his lifetime, hindi na rin magiging valid liability sa kanyang estate pag namatay na siya. If a claim against the estate arose out of debt instrument, the debt instrument must be notarized. Of course, except kapag ang loan ay galing sa financial institution wherein ang practice ng financial institution na yon ay hindi magpa-notarize based sa kanilang business practice. So, hindi i-require yung notarization clause or agreement. If the loan was contracted within 3 years before his death of the decedent, the administrator or executor shall submit a statement showing the disposition of the proceeds of loan. So, kapag nag-obtain siya ng loan, 3 years bago siya mamatay, dapat mayroong statement of proceeds kung saan napunta yung niloan niya. If a money claim against the estate of the decedent did not arise of a debt instrument, the requirement on notarized debt instrument does not apply. So, hindi naman nanggaling sa debt instrument kasi. So, hindi kailangan ipa-notarize. Okay, let's have illustration number 1. Mr. A, during his lifetime, executed a promissory note that was notarized. He died with the note still unpaid. Can there be a claim against his estate arising out of the promissory note. So, I'll give you time to think kung meron bang obligation o wala doon sa kanyang estate. Can there be a claim against his estate dahil doon sa promissory note? So, the answer is, there is none. So, mayroon kasing promissory note, and yung promissory note should be notarized. So, since hindi na-meet yung notarization requirement, walang claims against the estate sa kanyang gross estate. Illustration number 2. Mr. D, during his lifetime, executed a promissory note payable within 60 days from the date of issue and had it notarized. He died the day after he executed the promissory note. The proceeds of the note was certified by the administrator of the estate as used by the family as used for the family expenses. So I'll give you time to think. So is the obligation valid, or can there be a claim against his estate? So pwede ba siyang mag-claim ng claims against the estate? Valid ba yung obligation? The answer is yes. The obligation is valid kasi na-meet niya yung dalawang requirements. So it is executed kasi yung liability is executed with a promissory note. And yung promissory note was notarized. So it is valid. And then, since it was contracted within yung 3 years period, so meron namang certification yung administrator niya na kung saan napunta yung expenses, which is it was used for family, for family expenses. It was used to pay family expenses, rather. Next, number 3. Mr. C, during his lifetime, was sued for damages for an act committed by him. The court ordered him to pay the damages. He died before he could comply with the order of the court. So can there be a liability, or can there be a claim against the estate? So I'll give you time to think kung ano ang sagot. So the answer is yes, it is a claim against the estate. Kasi valid yung obligation and there is no debt instrument involved like promissory note. So, hindi kailangan yung notarization requirement. So, valid yung claim and therefore, pwede mo siyang i-deduct as claims against the estate. Another illustration. Mr. D, during his lifetime, had a cash of 100,000. He borrowed 100,000 from E, a friend, and executed a notarized promissory note for it. The aggregate of 200,000 was maintained in a single bank account from which expenses were paid. 1 year after the note was executed, the note still being unpaid, Mr. D died. The administrator of the estate could not trace payments from the proceeds of the note. Can there be a deduction from the gross estate for the claim of E? So, pwede ba siyang mag-deduct ng claims against the estate? So, I'll give you a few seconds to think. kung pwede nga bang mag-deduct ng claims against the estate for this particular liability. So, the answer is none. So, hindi pwedeng mag-claim ng claims against the estate. Bakit? Kasi notarized naman yung promissory note. However, yung second requirement kasi hindi na-comply yung breakdown of kung saan napunta yung expenses. So let's move to another deduction, which is claims against insolvent person. So let's discuss first yung insolvent person. A person is insolvent when his properties are not sufficient to pay his obligation. So mas malaki na kasi yung kanyang obligation or liability compared sa kanyang properties or assets. So, kapag ganun ang case, ang tawag na doon ay insolvent. So, the claims of the creditor will be satisfied out of his available properties. So, kung ano na lang yung natira sa kanyang properties, yun ang paghati-hatian ng mga creditors. However, meron tayong dalawang types ng creditor. Mayroon yung mga preferred and ordinary creditors. So, yung preferred creditors, from the term itself, preferred sila. So, mauna silang babayaran. So, una munang babayaran yung mga preferred creditors bago yung mga ordinary creditors. So, kung ano na lang ang matira talaga dun sa property, yun na yung paghati-hatian ng mga ordinary creditors. Pero si preferred creditors, mauunang masatisfy yung kanyang claim o mauna siyang babayaran bago yung mga ordinary creditors. Claims against insolvent person are deductions from the gross estate. So, pwede mo daw i-deduct yung claims against insolvent person sa gross estate, subject to the condition that the full amount of the receivables are first included in the gross estate. So, mayroong requirement to be deducted, to be included as deduction, yung claims against insolvent person, dapat sinama mo muna yung receivable, yung amount ng receivable na hindi mo na makukolect doon sa gross estate. Kasi kung hindi mo ginawa yun, hindi mo rin pwedeng i-deduct yung claims against insolvent person. So let's have an illustration. Mr. F died leaving an estate in which receivables from debtors are included as follows. 10,000 from a brother who died without any property whatsoever, and 15,000 from a friend whose properties are not sufficient to pay preferred creditors. The deduction for claims against insolvent person is the answer is 25,000. Of course, yung receivable from a brother, kasi wala na siyang property, so yung entire amount is uncollectible. And then, ganun din yung 15,000 from a friend. So, insufficient na rin yung kanyang property. So, pwedeng i-claim yun against insolvent person. So, 10 plus 15 is 25. Mr. G died leaving an estate in which there is a receivable of 60,000 from a debtor who has not enough properties to pay his obligation. So, mayroon na namang insolvent person. So, therefore, mayroong claims against insolvent person pala. The debtor's properties are worth 100,000 and his obligation amounted to 300,000. So, yun lang. So, 100 na lang yung kanyang property and ang kanyang obligation is 300,000. So, ang ratio nila is 1/3. 100 over 300 or 1/3 of the... So, yun na lang yung pwedeng masatisfy nung kanyang assets. 1/3 na lang ang pwede niyang ibayad. So, magkano yung deduction from the gross estate? So, syempre, kung mababayaran yung 1/3, syempre, di ang hindi mababayaran ay 2/3. So, 2/3, ulitin ko, 1/3 kasi ang masasatisfy, kasi may property pa naman si debtor na 100,000, di ba? So, 1/3 ang ratio ng pwedeng bayaran. So, ang hindi pwedeng bayaran is 2/3. So, 2/3 times 60,000, that is 40,000. So, ulitin ko, ang sagot is 40,000 kasi 2/3 times 60,000. We are still on deduction from the gross estate. This time, unpaid mortgage or indebtedness on property naman ang i-discuss natin. So, when a person leaves a property encumbered by a mortgage or indebtedness, his gross estate must include the fair market value of the property. The mortgage indebtedness is deducted from the gross estate. It will be wrong to include the computation for the gross estate only the equity of the decedent. So, malinaw yung sinabing rule, if the property is encumbered by a mortgage or indebtedness, so yung value ng property must be included in full sa gross estate. So, parang ito na naman yung requirement niya. So, pag hindi nakalagay sa gross estate yung property na naka-mortgage, then hindi pwedeng i-deduct yung yung liability na naka-attach doon sa property. Sabi niya, it will be wrong to include in the computation for the gross estate only the equity. So, hindi mo pwedeng i-net. Ibig sabihin, deducted na yung property. Ang isasama mo na lang sa gross estate is yung net ng obligation ng mortgage. So, hindi daw, wrong daw yun. So, dapat yung value ng property na naka-mortgage ay kasama ng buo, tapos saka mo deduct yung liabilities. If the loan is merely an accommodation loan where the proceeds of the loan went to another person, the value of the unpaid loan must be included in the receivable of the gross estate. So, kapag accommodation loan daw, yung receivable, isama mo sa gross estate. So, let's have an illustration. For this, Miss H died leaving a property with a fair market value of 1 million rather, no? But subject to a mortgage in favor of Miss I in the amount of 600,000, while the equity of Miss H is 400,000. The gross estate will include a fair market value of, so magkano daw ang isasama sa gross estate? So, yung loan is merely an accommodation loan, no? So, where the proceeds of the loan went to another person. The value of the unpaid loan must be included in the receivable of the estate. So, isasama mo sa gross estate yung magkano? 600,000. Sabi diyan. Sabi sa rule natin kanina, kapag accommodation loan yan, ano ang gagawin? The value of the unpaid loan. So, magkano ba yung unpaid loan? Yung 600,000. So, kung hindi sana accommodation loan yan, so yung value ng 1 million is sama mo sa gross estate. Ganun ang gagawin. Tapos, yung amount ng mortgage, isasama mo sa deduction. Kapag si Miss H ang mismo umutang at nag-benefit doon sa loan. Hindi kaso, di ba? Ginawa yon in favor of Miss I. So, accommodation. In-accommodate lang ni Miss H si Miss I. Kaya ang rule natin kung accommodation loan dyan, yung amount ng loan ang isama sa gross estate. Still on deduction from the gross estate. So this time, let's tackle losses. So losses are deductible from gross estate if, letter A, incurred during the settlement of the estate. So kapag ang losses daw ay nangyari habang sinisettle yung estate, ano ba yung settlement period? Yun yung pagkatapos mamatay ni decedent hanggang sa may distribute yung property. Yun yung tinatawag natin may distribute yung property sa mga heir. Yun yung tinatawag natin settlement period. Yung naghahati-hati na yung mga heirs ng property. Pero siguro, minsan na-prolong yan dahil siguro hindi sila nagkakasundo-sundo doon sa sharing. No? So, minsan nagkaka-case pa yung iba, di ba? Umahantong pa sila sa mga kaso-kaso. So, habang tumatagal yung distribution, tumatagal yung pagbabayad ni estate ng tax. Kasi nga, hindi pa na-transfer yung property, therefore, yung income hindi pa na-transfer din sa heir. Letter B, arising from fire, shipwreck, other casualty, robbery, theft, and embezzlement. So, maliwanag naman dyan. So, kapag ang loss ay nangyayari dahil sa fire, shipwreck, casualty, robbery, theft, or embezzlement. Letter C, not compensated by insurance or otherwise. Of course, kasi walang loss kung compensated by insurance, no? For example, yung cellphone mo nawala, may kinuha kang insurance, binigyan ka ng 20,000 dahil malaki yung kinuha mong insurance. So, may loss ba yun? 15,000 lang yung cellphone mo. Di wala, di ba? Kasi compensated by insurance. So, natural, kapag nagkaroon ka ng loss pero pinalitan ng insurance, walang loss. Di ba? So, ang requirement para may deduct mo yung loss, it should not be compensated by insurance. Hindi dapat pinalitan ng insurance or binayaran ng insurance. Kasi pag binayaran ng insurance, walang loss. Letter D, at the time of filing of estate tax return, such loss has been claimed as a deduction from gross income. So pag diniduct na daw yung loss sa gross income, sa computation mo ng taxable income, huwag mo naman nang isama. Hindi na pwedeng isama sa losses under sa gross sa taxable estate mo computation, no? So isa lang. So mamili ka kung saan mo isasama, sa computation ba ng taxable income o sa estate tax. Letter E, incurred before the last day of payment of estate tax within 1 year from the decedent's death, or an extension granted by Bureau of Internal Revenue not exceeding 30 days. So, within 1 year, diba? So, dapat within 1 year na settle na. Kasi yun yung settlement na estate tax within 1 year. Tapos, pwedeng in several circumstances, pwede kang magpa-approve ng extension pero hanggang 30 days lang. So, 1 year, ang maximum 1 year and 30 days. Okay, so let's have an illustration for losses. Illustration number 8. Cost of the property is 400,000. So, kulang ng 0. Pakidagdagan na lang. Fair market value of the property at the time of loss is 300,000. Insurance recovery is 200,000. So, ang requirement pala dito, ang question pala dito is, how much is the deduction for losses? So, nawala yung property mo, worth 400,000. Ang fair market value niya is 300,000 at the time of loss, casualty loss. However, yung insurance company mo gave you 200,000. So, magkano ang deduction sa loss? Is it yung cost ng property na 400,000? Is it yung fair market value at the time of loss? Or other amount? So, the answer is, it's 100,000. Ang deductible lang is yung hindi cover ng insurance. So, since ang value na niya at present ay 300,000, so we will be using 300,000. Then, ibawas mo yung proceeds from insurance na 200,000. Then, makukuha mo yung 100,000. So, let's clarify theft, robbery, embezzlement, at saka casualty loss. Theft is a simple taking of property from an owner without consent of such owner. So, pag kinuha yung property na walang paalam, it is considered as theft. If taking is accompanied by force or intimidation, so pag may kasama ng force at saka intimidation, then it is already a robbery. So, yung embezzlement, on the other hand, is estafa, no? Is the application of entrusted property without the consent of the owner. So, pinagkatiwala sa iyo yung property, tapos kinuha or ninakaw, it is called embezzlement, no? What is casualty? A casualty is an accident, mishap, or sudden invasion by a hostile agency and includes a gradual deterioration of property out of a steady operation or cause. So, yun naman ang casualty. Another deduction from the gross estate is taxes. So, taxes are deductible from the gross estate if such taxes accrued prior to the decedent's death. So, pag nag-accrue daw, bago mamatay si decedent, it is deductible. The rule is stated in a positive way for a discussion in the law on what cannot be deducted as taxes. The law states in a paragraph, but not including any income tax upon income received after death, property not accrued before death, or any estate tax. So, maliwanag naman yung exclusion na minention dito sa mga taxes na hindi kasama sa deduction. So, and these are income tax upon income received after death. So, yung income na natanggap pagkatapos mamatay ni decedent, hindi nakasama sa deductible taxes. Property taxes not accrued before death. So, pag hindi nag-accrue bago mamatay yung property tax, it will not be deducted anymore. Or any estate tax. So, yung estate tax will not be deducted. So, next deduction from the gross estate is transfer for public use. By transfer for public use, as a deduction from the gross estate is meant disposition in last will and testament, or transfer to take effect after death in favor of the government of the Philippines or any political subdivision thereof for exclusive purposes. What are the political subdivisions of the national government? So, ito lang yung mga kinoconsider as political subdivision, yung cities, provinces, municipalities, and barangays. So, sila lang yung legitimate na recognized political subdivisions. So, transfer for public use is a deduction allowed na binigay as benefit sa mga to encourage yung pag-transfer ng property to the government of the Philippines, of course. So, kung magbibigay ka na nga ng property sa government, kung magdodonate ka na nga ng property sa government, itatax pa ba? So, hindi na. So, as a result, inallow as deduction whatever donations or transfers na ginawa mo in favor sa ating Philippine government. So, pwedeng yan ay binigay mo sa province, cities, municipalities, or even sa mga barangays. So, it will be exempt. Dahil sinama mo siya as deduction. So, kung na-deduct mo siya, kasi nakalist down lahat ng property doon sa taas, tapos ibabawas mo yung deduction sa baba, then, hindi siya matatax kasi na-deduct siya. Let's have an illustrative problem sa transfer for public use. In his last will and testament, Mr. L left pieces of land with a fair market value of 10 million to City of Tobacco Albay for the city government to build on a new city hall. There will be a deduction of from the gross estate. So, magkano yung deduction? Of course, yung amount na 10 million will be deducted dun sa gross estate ni Mr. L. So, para hindi siya matax yung sinama niyang deduction. Illustration number 10. During his lifetime, Mr. M made a donation mortis causa, so donation during his lifetime yan, a piece of land with a fair market value of 3 million to Barangay Don Manuel, Quezon City, on which to construct a barangay hall. So, gagamitin naman this time na pag-construct ng barangay hall. The value of the property will be included in the gross estate. So, sinama sa gross estate ni Mr. M. How much is the deduction from the gross estate? Okay, so the same amount will be deducted. No? So, i-report mo siya, gross income yung 3 million, gross estate rather, gross estate yung 3 million and yung deduction niya will be 3 million din. So, may isasama kang deduction. Next, deduction from the gross estate is a family home. So, what is family home? A family home of a married person or unmarried head of the family is the dwelling house where the person and his family reside and the land on which is situated. So, ang family home, hindi lang yung bahay mismo, kasama na rin yung land kung saan located yung family house. So, it must be yung dwelling place daw. So, para ma-consider yan as family home. So, kung maraming, halimbawa, may maraming kayong bahay, rest house, vacation house, etc., etc., ang po i-consider as family home nyo, wherein pwedeng magkaroon ng deduction pag sa computation ng estate tax is yung dwelling place, kung saan talaga kayo nakatira. Within the meaning of family are the spouse, parents, ascendants, descendants, brothers, and sisters who are living in the family home and who depend upon the head of the family for support. So, yung ascendants, iyan yung mga ascendants, pataas, di ba? So, sino ba ang pataas mo? Parents, grandparents, etc., etc. Yung descendants naman pababa. Anak, apo, etc., etc. So, let's continue. The deduction for family home is an amount equivalent to its fair market value, pero ang maximum amount na deductible is 10 million. So, malinaw yun, ha? Magkano ang i-deduct mo for family home is yung fair value of the family home. However, ang limit niyan is 10 million. So, kung 15 million yung value ng family home nyo, hindi mo pwedeng i-deduct yung entire 15 million. Kundi hanggang 10 million lang. Tapos, kung 2 million lang naman ang bahay nyo, for example, di yung 2 million ang deduction for family home. Huwag mong i-deduct yung 10,000 kasi yung 10,000 is only a limit, no? So, magiging deductible lang yung 10,000, magiging amount ng deduction lang yung 10,000. Kung nag-exceed ng 10 million rather, ng 10 million, yung nag-exceed ng 10 million yung value ng family home. The deduction from the gross estate for a family home will be allowed when a family home is certified to as such by the barangay captain. So, ang requirement is para totoong bahay nyo, yung i-claim mo as deduction, dapat may certification from your barangay captain na hindi doon na kayo na tumitira at yun yung iyong family home. So, let's have an illustration for family home. Illustration number 11. Mr. C, single, head of the family, and a resident of the Philippines, died in 2019, leaving a gross estate, a family home with a fair market value of 18, together with other properties with a fair market value of 10,500,000. Deductions sought to be claimed against insolvent person is 1,100,000 and family home. The net taxable estate is, so magkano daw yung net taxable estate? So, ang kanyang gross estate is composed of yung kanyang family home at saka other properties. Diba? So, i-add mo yung 18 million saka 10,500,000. So, you have a gross estate, a total gross estate of 28,500,000. And let's go sa deduction. So, ano yung mga deduction? Meron daw claims against insolvent person na 1,100,000. So, 1,100,000. Yan. Okay. So, sama mo deduction 1,100,000. And then, yung family home na, so, ang family home nila ay 18 million. So, dapat maximum lang na 10 million. So, ang deduction mo na is 1,100,000 saka 10 million na family home. And then, of course, kung i-compute natin yung net taxable estate talaga, based dun sa requirement ng problem, kailangan natin ng standard deduction na 5 million. So, i-deduct mo pa yung 5 million. No? So, ulitin natin. So, gross estate, 18 million plus other properties na 10,500,000. Ang total gross estate is 28,500,000. And then, yung na-identify natin deduction, yung sa claims against insolvent person na 1,100,000, din yung deduction for family home, yung maximum na 10 million kasi nga 18 ang value ng kanilang family home, 18 million. So 10 million lang ang allowed. Tapos, yung standard deduction that will be discussed next is 5 million. So, ang net taxable estate mo is, kunin mo yung difference, 28,500,000 minus yung total deduction, 16,100,000. So, ang net taxable estate is 12,400,000. So, another illustration for family home as a deduction from the gross estate. Mr. D died a citizen and resident of the Philippines. Included in his gross estate was a family home consisting of land and a structure that he acquired through a bank loan of 8 million. At the time of death, in 2019, the property had a fair market value of 12 million and unpaid bank loan of 6 million. How much is the total deductions related to property that can be claimed? So, magkano ang deductions daw dito? So, ano ba yung mga deductions dito? So, first is yung sa family home. So, let's settle. Ang fair market value na ng family home nila is 12 million. So, nag-exceed na siya dun sa maximum na 10 million. So, only 10 million is allowed as a deduction for family home. And of course, yung unsettled loan niya na 6 million. Dati yon ay 8 million. Pero syempre, nabayaran na niya siguro yung 2 million. Kaya ang unpaid bank loan na lang is 6 million. So, 10 million plus 6 million. So, yun yung total deduction that can be claimed sa gross estate ni Mr. D. So, ito na yung nabanggit natin kaninang deduction doon sa isang example sa family home. Kasi ang pinakompute na is net taxable estate. So, pag sinabi natin net taxable estate, yung buong deduction na ang i-deduct para makuha yung net taxable estate. So, kasama dyan yung standard deduction. So, ang standard deduction is 5 million. So, in every taxpayer, every resident ay entitled ng 5 million na standard deduction from his gross estate. Next deduction is amount receivable under Republic Act 4917. So, any amount receivable by the heirs from the decedent's employer as a consequence of his death, of the decedent employee in accordance with the Republic Act 4917 will be deductible from the gross estate of the decedent. So, ganun din kung may may na-receive as a result of employee-employer relationship ng decedent, of course, isasama mo siya sa deduction. Isasama mo siya sa gross estate, tapos i-deduct mo din lang para hindi siya ma-subject to tax. Revenue regulations classify deduction from the gross estate in two. So, mayroon daw tayong dalawang classification ng deductions na nani-discuss natin previously. So, ito yung unang classification is ordinary deduction and yung second classification is special deduction. So, ulitin natin yung two classification, ordinary at saka special deduction. So, mas marami ang nasa ordinary deduction. So, ang ordinary deduction natin is claims against insolvent person, claims against the estate, unpaid mortgage or indebtedness, taxes, losses, vanishing deduction, transfer for public use, and amount received under Republic Act 4917. And then, yung special deduction naman natin is family home and standard deduction. So, based dyan sa listing, isa na lang ang deduction na hindi natin na-discuss and that is vanishing deduction. To be discussed sa part 2 na ng ating allowable deductions from the gross estate. Kasi medyo complicated yung topic na yan. That's why ni-reserve natin para na mas mahaba ang kanyang time. Deductions from the gross estate of a non-resident, not citizen of the Philippines. So, kapag ikaw ay non-resident, not citizen, hindi lahat ng expenses mo ay deductible. So, tingnan natin dito. A decedent who has not a citizen or resident of the Philippines at the time of death with properties within and outside the Philippines is subject to tax only on his estate within the Philippines. So, of course, ganoon naman ang sabi natin nung diniscuss natin yung gross income. No? Ang masasama lang na kanyang gross income na masasubject to estate tax is yung properties located in the Philippines. Due to this, estate of the Philippines is allowed a limited deduction. So, dahil yun lang naman ang kasama sa kanyang gross estate, so limited din yung kanyang deduction kasi limited din lang yung kasama sa kanyang income. So, deduction from the gross estate of a non-resident na citizen of the Philippines. So, yung expenses, losses, indebtedness, and taxes daw niya will be prorated. So, ito yung formula sa pag-prorate natin. gross estate Philippines over gross estate world divided by, ay multiplied by world deduction recognized by Philippine law. So, i-multiply mo yung ratio ng gross estate Philippines sa gross estate world dun sa expenses, amount ng expenses, losses, and indebtedness. Yan, na recognized within the Philippine laws lang. And then, transfer for public use in the Philippines will also be deductible, and then yung vanishing deductions. As you can see, wala na siyang special deduction. So let's have a sample computation of estate tax. Of course, it is simplified pa, no? So, bago natin i-complicate, let us have a simple illustration muna kung paano i-compute yung estate tax. So, ang tax rate is 6%, no? So, since kung alam mo na yung tax rate, ang gagawin mo lang is you have to compute yung net taxable estate. And ang formula naman ang simple formula ng computation ng net taxable estate is gross estate minus deduction. So kung ang kasama sa gross estate is 10 million, bawas mo lang yung deduction na inassume natin na 6 million. So ang net taxable estate natin is 4 million. No? Kulang ng 0. Pakidagdagan na lang. Then, i-multiply na natin sa taxable estate o sa net taxable estate yung tax rate na 6%. So, 240,000 ang estate tax. Pero of course, this is a simplified computation. So, later, i-complicate natin. I-detail na natin yung gross income at saka yung deductions para ma-apply natin yung diniscuss nating concept. Another illustration, Mr. E, a citizen and resident of F foreign country. Single, died leaving a gross estate of 5,200,000 in the Philippines and 2,400,000 in F foreign country. Claim against the estate in the Philippines amounted to 1 million, while in F, foreign country amounted to 1.5. The deduction from the Philippine gross estate will be, so ito na yung application na kapag non-resident citizen sa Philippines, hindi entirely deductible yung kanya expenses. Katulad ng diniscuss natin sa previous slides, mayroong yung expenses, losses, and indebtedness, it will be prorated, no? So, pakibalikan na lang yung formula. No? So, pakitake note yung mga given para makarelate tayo doon sa susunod na slide pag present na natin yung solution. So, ito yung solution. Sa pag-compute ng deductible expense ng non-resident, not citizen. No? So, kasi resident siya of F foreign country, resident and citizen siya ng F foreign country, so non-resident, not citizen siya sa Philippines. So, gross estate within the Philippines, 5.2 million. Gross estate in foreign country, 2.4 million. So, ang total gross estate niya in the world is 7,600,000. Then, may deduction siya sa Philippines, 1 million, claims against the estate, deduction siya sa foreign country din, claims against the estate din, 500,000. Ang kanyang world expenses, losses, and indebtedness and taxes is 1.5 million. So, katulad kanina, mayroon tayong formula. So, i-divide natin yung gross estate in the Philippines na 5.2 million ng total world gross estate na 7.6 million. So, 5.2 million divided by 7.6 million times yung world expenses, losses, and indebtedness and taxes na 1.5 million. So, ang deduction lang na allowed sa kanya is 1.2 million. So, hindi pwedeng i-deduct yung entire 1.5 million. Okay, so it's application time. So, I will be assigning this problem for the topic allowable deduction. So, lahat ng diniscuss nating allowable deduction kanina, paki-identify kung present siya dito. So, for example, yung claims against the estate, mayroon ba? Kung wala, di ang ilagay nyo ay 0. So, lahat nung na-identify nating deductions kanina, pakitignan kung meron siya dito. And, pakilagay yung amount kung magkano ang deductions for claims against the estate, transfer for public use, standard deduction, family home, etc., etc. So, you have to list down yung mga deductions, lahat-lahat ng discuss natin dito sa topic na to, and then pakilagay yung amount if meron. Kung wala naman, pakilagay lang ang 0. Your answer will be uploaded sa link that will be provided kasama nitong explainer video. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you very much. I am Romualdo F. Credo, your teacher in business and transfer tax. God bless.